Hello, people. This is Zyberpunky and friends, and today Shinja and Officer Dan are joining me into a really interesting topic, which is digital versus physical games.
Um, so physical games, obviously, they've improved since they first started coming out ages ago. But if we're talking about CDs or DVDs, Blu-rays in specific, they've changed so much. Um, like at like back when the PlayStation and the Sega Dreamcast. I think the Sega Dreamcast was the first Sega console to use CDs, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean the Sega CD before that.
Oh,
There was
okay,
like
that's
a
you.
giga disc, maybe. Yeah, it was like a
Is-
giga disc. It had like one
Yeah.
gigabyte.
It might have been less than that. Well, the Gigadisc was for the Dreamcast,
Yeah,
though.
the Dreamcast.
Because I think default CDs were just 800.
No, there weren't they like 600?
They could have been 600 too.
Back in the
I'm so
days.
informed.
Yeah,
But yeah, the Sega CD, obviously, the Sega CD attachment.
yeah. So, um, you know, they've improved so much in like how much they can hold in capacity, and also, I have very few games that like don't have any scratches on them at all. Like most games get scratches on them like within what like the first few months of using them so much.
hmm
And that's just normal wear and tear. Like I don't think even having them in their own jewel case helped. Maybe even the jewel case could scratch it up a little bit.
There's potential for that, yeah, if it's junk.
Yeah. So
It can always slip out if it's like a normal CD jewel case. Fall around. I've gotten brand new games that were completely just floating around in there before.
damn. So yeah, I mean, and then DVDs probably did a better job because I think they have an extra layer
Yeah.
of coating.
hmm Yeah.
But still, I've had a few PS2 games, and I never had an Xbox. But speaking from experience from normal DVDs and whatnot, um, some of them look horrible. But I don't think I've ever had one where it's been unplayable. I think I've only had that with movies,
hmm
and then Blu-rays. I've never had one was a scratch on it. So they're great. Um, so like collection wise and durability wise, they're much better than they used to be. That's for sure. But at the beginning, they were horrible.
Yeah, it's beginning, and they're trying to uh evolve, the disc and all that. That's why we have today, which is called the Blu-ray. And it if the Blu-ray gets scratched, I think most devices or consoles may read it still because they're really
Depends
durable.
on how
Yeah.
depends on how deep
Yeah, it
it is.
depends on how deep. I mean, if the guy just, tried to murder the Blu-ray with a knife, yeah, we can.
hmm
So, the other thing is that about physical copies, it's the actual art box, the box and the art of it. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of collectors that they just don't like just the CD or the Blu-ray or the DVD. They like also the art, the front and the back of the box of the case. And for me, it's really important, to have these kinds of protectable things. Um, I don't know if you remember, Chris. I used to fight in GameStop so they can give me the damn box, the damn case. I used to fight a lot because these people always gave me those how do you
The cheap imitation plastic boxes with
yeah,
the
it's
GameStop
yeah,
printed out paper.
yeah, like those.
Cough cough GameStop.
They used to give you that at GameStop?
Yeah, here in Puerto
Yeah,
Rico, it's
like
Oh
really
my
bad.
goodness.
they're the cheap imitation. They're like so like before they actually had like PS3 games and like the actual like
Yeah.
PS3 boxes. That there were still imitation because there's like black. They just had normal DVD boxes and they slapped the PS3 game on in there.
That's the kind of bull that I would expect from Blockbuster when they're just trying to get rid of old stuff.
No, but they do it at GameStop too.
I was not aware of that, or no GameStop I've ever been to tried to pass that off on me.
And what annoyed me the most is I didn't mind it so much with PS3 games or PS2 games. They do it with GameCube games. So you'd have a freaking huge, you'd have the box, and then GameCube games are like tiny little CDs.
Small. Yes.
And like just a huge circle for it to put in, and then like it just felt painful putting the CD in and pulling it out from that.
Yeah.
Especially since GameCube games were the most fragile of them all.
Mm-hmm. So I used to fight a lot, for them to find the case, and at the end they just tell me, "Oh, we couldn't find the case. We're gonna give you this envelope." And I'm like, "Damn,
that's even worse."
I'm like, damn.
They're doing that a lot more.
I mean, I know it's a Blu-ray disc, but I really want the art of the box, the case and all that, because I know that if I look at it, I'm like, wow, this was back in the days, because right now PlayStation 3 games are gonna become retro, and I want to, stick this with like a memory, and to have it right here in my hands. Other thing is the booklet inside. There's like a little book that tells you the buttons and all that,
which are slowly becoming extinct.
Yes,
but
and I know that we like never used them. Like, I don't know if you guys remember at the back of those booklets that there was like a note.
Oh yeah, the notes.
Yeah,
section.
the notes, like.
Oh yeah.
Which
we never used.
I think. Well, no, Officer Dan told me he'd used them. I think.
I just had a couple Super NES. Yeah, I might have had some Smash Brothers notes, but I remember Looney Tunes B-Ball for the Super Nintendo. I had notes because I think Nintendo Power at one point published cheat codes for it, and so I just had that for easy access in the back of that.
Yeah, I was generally just confused with it. I was like, I get to the end and I feel like it was a test. Like I'm like, yeah, like I'd read the whole instruction booklet. It was especially with Nintendo games and stuff. I'd read the whole thing and I'm like, wait, I was supposed to be taking notes for this? Am I going to be tested for this in the game later? What?
So
yeah, it makes sense.
I still, I still have those boxes today, and I really want to, get this clear. Even though I still have Game Informer magazines from 2006, and they're physical. They're not digital like right now. You just go to the website and like, okay, I read the news and like 2 years passes and you can't find it again. I mean, today I'm studying communications and all that, and if I want to look into a history, I look back to these 2006 Game Informer magazines, and that's a good thing about physical things. I look back, I travel in time, I have it in my hands. I can read. They're still there. I mean, I don't know if they have a little bit of dust or anything, but I can clean them up. But yeah, physical is really important for me because they, even though they got old, well, they're durable. Those in those days they used to make them durable for a reason.
Yeah, most NES games and Super Nintendo games, like cartridge games, I should say, like usually they seem to work very well. I've only had a few games that don't work well at all, and it's usually just the result of like using a Game Shark on them.
I mean, you had the one, and I imagine your pins just need cleaned. Like I watched you put in Mega Man 2, and I watched you play Mega Man 2, original NES cart.
Oh yeah.
Now because of the pin that just needs cleaned up, instead of it just
Metal
reads
Man.
instead of Metal Man, it just reads Metallic,
Yeah.
and it just pulls up. That's so minor, and it just needs cleaned up. And then if you were talking cartridges and things like that, the only thing we realistically have to worry about is internal save batteries, and they have a shelf life of about 15 to 20 years, and I still have games where the save battery works. I've got Zelda sitting, like original NES Zelda, with the internal battery that still works, and I've only struggled with that once. I picked up Mario Golf for the Nintendo 64, where the internal save battery didn't work, and I just had it exchanged, and it wasn't a big deal. But now the resources are out there easily enough because it's just a cheap battery, and there isn't much that you have to do if you just wanted to replace that yourself.
Is there any soldering involved?
I can't remember. But
if you can, it probably means no.
I mean, if there is, it's really, really minor.
I want to hear, Officer Dan, what's been your big experience for physical games, like really hardcore?
Oh, dude, I love physical stuff. I'm definitely in that side of the camp. I mean, there are rich, intelligent people out there that build libraries onto their house, and they just personify with the library. You go in and everything's mahogany wood, and they have books everywhere. It's like, wow, have you read all these books? It's like, yes, I've read every single one. And they just come across as intelligent and elegant and
they
elegant
have fur
and
growing
sophisticated.
out of them, and they have this lady imprisoned in a tower.
You have an old lady.
Their life is tied to a rose.
Except I'm the beautiful one. I'm the beautiful one because I'm supporting. This is my art. I'm in the camp that also sees video games as art too. There's just so much art that just goes into it. So when I see a game, I just also think of the hundreds of people that spent time and money in putting this together. So, and the physical product is like the satisfaction is like, oh, here's all this hard work that's completed, all this talent that's in your hand, and to have that displayed on my shelf makes me feel like that smart, sophisticated person. Except it's even more so because it's art. So it's like it's an art museum too.
Nice.
And just displayed everywhere. So I definitely love that aspect of it. But also, I want to be not completely biased and talk about cons to physical too. What comes to mind is Microsoft has screwed up both physical and digital.
Yeah.
Because when the 360 has come out, I should have brought this up when you were talking about scratching discs and everything. But it takes nothing for the disk drive in and of itself, because of the laser being up too high and the reader completely making circles of it. Like, I remember when it first launched, there were stories of guys trying to set up their Call of Duty LAN parties, and they flipped the console sideways while it's running, and then have it completely ruined that way. But it doesn't even take you, it's kind of common sense to me to not jostle it or move it at all when the disc is running. To see it standing upright anyhow isn't that happy. But besides the fact, it would still ruin discs. I have a Halo 4 that's just sitting there completely useless because of the disc that destroyed. Mm-hmm.
Because of the Xbox, or
because of the Xbox ruining it.
Wow.
I mean, nobody can make a perfectly shaped circle unless they had one of those,
Yeah.
What's it, compass tools that you'd use for map? There'd have to be an idiot jabbing that right in the center of the disc and to spin it perfectly to make a disc scratch so perfect.
I had a Black Ops 1, the Xbox 360 did that to my Black Ops 1, and someone actually bought it off of me.
Yeah.
But I told them, it runs, but you're missing this and this map, and if you launch this zombie mode, then the game crashes.
The game crashes. Yeah. I've had similar. I have a copy of it's one of the Monkey Island games. It's the Monkey Island game that was on the PlayStation 2. I've had that happen one instance where I get to a certain part of the game and it doesn't let me advance because of the damage that was done. So that's one instance where I have 2 copies of that game.
Yeah.
One that won't let you pass the swimming pool area, and then one that does.
Speaking of stuff like that, Twilight Princess, my beloved GameCube game that I have now.
So beloved.
Yeah.
So happy for you.
Um, I don't know if I think I told Zyberpunky this story, but when I first tried to get it, they gave me a scratch disc, and I didn't notice the scratches on it when they gave it to me. So I popped it in the GameCube, and it ran for the first few minutes, and then all of a sudden just black screen, and be like, reset GameCube, cannot read game, or whatever.
That's horrifying to have anything happen to my Nintendo.
And so I keep, restarting it, and it let me progress, but I couldn't get further than like 10 minutes, sometimes even like 2-3 minutes into the game without, that screen popping up. So I didn't get very far into the game before I decided I'm going to have to take this back to GameStop. And I took it back, and they gave me my newer one right now, which I'm so thankful I did, because I didn't know the game was worth $50 now, and I only got it for like $10 or $15.
Yeah, because now it's a rare game.
Yes.
I didn't know it was.
Oh yes.
Yes.
So the other thing was, we discussed this a while ago, Shinja and I, and it's about before we enter to the digital, there's something that's really in my concern, that even though physical, it can stay with you forever, but digital, it kinds of it's in the cloud, and we talk about games in the cloud and game streaming, and if those servers shut down, we won't be able to download them again, because there's another thing, that not all games fit in our hard drives, and if these servers go down, those games are gonna be stuck in the download, because we download them through an app. It's not downloading. I mean, go to Google and download it. We can't do that. So it's really a pain, and to think this, because I know it's gonna happen, and those games, we pay for it, and they need to do something, that we can like still download them, but can't go to the servers, which that's kind of contradicting, because you can't go to the server if you can't download it. If the servers are down, you can't access the app. So
yes,
what do you think about it?
I can completely relate with that. Now, I've been a Nintendo fan my entire life, but I'm not so big of a fanboy that I can't point out like a few issues that I have with them at the same time, as big of a fan as I am.
Yeah.
And you bringing that up brings up this point. I was an early adopter of the Nintendo 3DS, and for the circumstances that happened, it became what was known as an ambassador 3DS, because a price cut happened early in the Nintendo 3DS's life cycle. So to commemorate anybody who jumped in on 3DS early around launch, they became an ambassador 3DS with an ambassador 3D with an ambassador ticket, and that would give you access to 10 free virtual console games that would slowly be released over time. So I forget all what they gave me, but there's really sweet games that they gave those ambassador people over a period of time, and I have all those. But for how Nintendo's sitting with their account system, even though this will be fixed in the near future, I still don't know if this applies to my 3DS. That people know that if I were to buy if I were to go out and get a new 3DS XL, which I will probably someday, I would have to I'd have to transfer everything over, and I don't know if that includes my ambassador stuff or not. So I worry about that a little bit.
Like, is it Are they linked to your account, or you told me it doesn't link it to your account
The
for some
point
reason?
I'm trying to say is right now with 3DS stuff, it's linked to the system and not to an account system.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Yeah. So here we have like something similar to what Zyberpunky's saying, where you know you downloaded something and then all of a sudden it's not available to you anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and you paid money for it. Um,
Yeah, which is why I brought that up. Yes.
yeah, and like if for some reason it's not made available to you, and you decide to sort of move on, or you're trying to get these games again, you can't get them because reasons.
Yeah.
That's kind of worrying. Like I didn't think about it until until recently, where we're all like, oh hey, like next gen consoles are here, physical games are okay, but as you know, I buy a lot of digital games.
Mhm.
So I've got quite a few on my Steam account, and then I got a
Yes.
few on my PS3 and PS4. And I'm not so worried about the PS4 right now, but PS3. Let's say for some reason Sony just doesn't have any more room on their servers for
They'll make an
PS3 titles.
excuse. They'll make an excuse.
Yeah. Stuff shuts down,
Yeah. So if for some ridiculous reason they start taking down like a whole bunch of games, or in general they're just like, hey, we're not gonna offer any more downloads, then just these games won't be accessible anymore. And so that's the most worrying part about this all. No access to them.
Yeah.
I have an article that I thought you'd find interesting.
Yeah.
Just in the physical realm, not the supernatural one. I just didn't know where to squeeze it in. I'm sorry, but the old school video game maker ColecoVision is going to be releasing another physical-based console.
These aren't the same ones that made the Retron.
I mean, no, this is different from the Retron. But actual, I don't mean just physical, like CDs. Like, they're going to be making cartridges.
Okay.
Like, it will be a cartridge-based console that will be running 32-bit things. So I thought that would be interesting to just bring up while I was here. Now, is this probably? I don't know the specs of this thing, but is this probably going to be like another Android box, like the Ouya was? Or however, maybe. And are the cartridges not gonna be fancy? Like it's probably just gonna be like a repinned USB drive or something like that. I imagine, quite possibly, but well, gosh darn it, people love cartridges, and people probably will buy into this anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be super popular. It depends how easily accessible it is to make games. Because how like gaming has become very mainstream lately, and because it's so mainstream, developers
It's making more money than Hollywood is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because it's so mainstream, gamers or developers, I should say, are making games more for like sort of the general public, because those are the people that'll like buy their games, rather than just specific people like those that grew up playing video games.
Yeah.
So those people won't really. I'm thinking about like real bro dude guys here. They won't really buy that kind of console, because they'll probably think like, oh, that's stupid. That's like one of those weird things you get at CVS or Walgreens, and you just plug it to your TV through the RCA cables, and that's it. It's just the controller with like crappy games on it, which this is clearly not. But it might bump into that if if not a lot of games are made to it. So if they make it really easy for like just the average Joe to make their own games on it, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or to have something like Steam to like make it easier to find games and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool. We didn't talk much about cartridges either.
All right.
I mean, we talked a little bit about cartridges.
Yeah.
But
I love carts.
Yes. The end.
I love cards.
I don't see any issues with. I mean, there's the whole like it doesn't hold as much memory as it could. They feel like they load up faster than your
Yeah,
normal
realistically,
CD
it
games.
can. Yes.
Uh,
I mean, that's why like Final Fantasy, like PlayStation 3 games and 4 games, have to install to the hard drive anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be quicker to access that than it would be through your disc.
Yep.
Yeah.
So stuff's got to install anyhow.
Yeah. Things are definitely moving more towards the digital side now. And by digital, I don't mean like specifically download, but more like it's gonna be stored on your computer.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now we can move on to digital.
Yeah. Let's go on to digital then.
I am a huge fan of the digital, because, like, not to say I don't love physical copies of things. I love having physical copies of games, for the same reason both of you do. Just being able to admire the artwork and just the whole game, just knowing the process it took to get to my hands, and then just having it displayed for everyone to see. That's great. But digital games right now are more accessible to everyone than they've ever been before. We all know that we can't go strictly digital because of, like, for example, the PSP Go. That was a horrible, horrible example and mistake by
Good example to bring up, actually, though. Yeah.
They had a console, disc-based console, handheld console, and it did great. It had quite a few hit titles. It did better in Japan than it did in America, I feel like.
Handhelds always do.
Yeah. And then, after the third model, like after the PSP 3000, they're like, hey, let's make a super portable one, PSP Go, which was not a bad idea. But the bad idea was, let's take out the disk drive and then add a hard drive. Hard drive, great. Disk drive, not so great. So I got one either way. Not new though. I got it secondhand through a retailer on eBay. But I enjoyed it a lot just because I was able to, download a few games onto it, and it worked great. I think the games loaded up faster than a normal PSP, and it was just so comfortable. It was so tiny. I love sliding up the little thing.
Yeah, I still think that, I mean, PSP Go was like a little bit too early for its time. I mean, they were trying to push it just like today. They were trying to push too hard the digital thing,
Well, it's not only that it was early for its time. I think they should have just made it what the PS Vita is, rather than just be like, oh, hey, here's another model of the PSP, because they already had, like, a whole bunch of titles for the PSP, and they had the physical games, and so anyone that had a PSP previously obviously had the CDs, or the UMDs as they were called.
Yeah, UMDs.
Universal Media Disc or something like that.
Yeah.
And so people who previously owned PSPs had UMDs. If you bought a new PSP or a PSP Go, you couldn't use your UMDs.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case with the other PSPs. PSP 1000 could use UMDs. 2000 could also use it. 3000 could also use it. But then all of a sudden, you've gathered all these games across these three handhelds, and then the new one shows up and you can't use any of them for them. So that's not a problem for people who've never owned a PSP Go. And I've heard people say that they bought some and that at GameStop they told them that it worked. And if they did, those employees are liars, and that's not really Sony's fault. That's GameStop's fault. Yeah, the console was definitely aimed at newer customers, or newer people newer to the system. Not really people who already owned some. Even though I owned all of them, I still gotta go, just cause, I'd only played digital games on it basically, the ones I downloaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so easily accessible. I could just download them and it'd be great. Obviously, you need an internet connection and a pretty good one, and I didn't have a good internet connection. I had a crap one, but it still worked.
I think it was like 5 MB only.
Well, we were promised like 6 MB or megabits, but
It's
it
really
was
shit.
it didn't go more than 1 megabit
Yeah.
sometimes, or actually most of the time. It like for like half a year it went like 10 megabits, and then it decided to take a dump on us because Puerto Rican weather and and bad. They installed it incorrectly, and the weather plus that makes it horrible. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
but I'm not having that issue now because fast internet, yay!
Yeah.
So because of fast internet, digital games are even better now because I can download as much as I want or as much as my hard drive will allow me, which I'll get to that later. And yeah, it's just it's it's almost as nice as having a physical library. You can see your collection there. You can scroll past it and be like, oh, look at all these games I bought and whatnot. But you can't really show them off to people. It's and you can, but it's not as easy as like, hey, look at my wall and it's filled up. Or like it's literally bigger than
Yeah.
your body.
You can't hand that to me and say, "Hey, play this in your spare time."
Yeah. Unless,
So
since Shinja and I are sharing the accounts on the PlayStation 3, but that's like
yeah,
one-on-one. I can't share it with other people, and back then I
Yes.
think
well,
Sony used to do like only 6 account
it
in
was
different.
5.
Yeah,
You could have your account on up to 5
yeah.
PS3s, and then they caught on to what people were doing. They're like, hey, let's limit that to 2.
Yeah, I think they like, man, we're losing money here.
Mm.
Yeah. Officer Dan and I are doing the same with our PS4s.
Yes.
I made his PS4 my primary PS4,
I need to do that with yours
and
still.
and he's gonna make my PS4 his primary PS4.
Awesome.
So, what
Yeah.
that does is I am able to download his digital games, and he's able to download my digital games onto his console. And we don't have to use each other's account to play it. We can just play it on our own accounts.
Yeah.
They're not, because otherwise, if his account was on my PS4 and I try to play them on my account, they'd be locked. But in this case, they won't be.
Yes.
And also, only one of us has to get PS Plus because the other one can just piggyback off the other one for multiplayer games. The other day, like we were able to play Battlefront online because I have PS Plus, and so
Yeah, because of your PlayStation Plus and because of your digital code that came with your brand new PlayStation 4.
yeah,
That was 2 players.
yeah, we both had Battlefront, and we both were able to
Yeah.
play online, and only one of us had to have the actual thing onto their account.
Yeah, that's the cool advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super easy. I'm sure they'll do something to make it more like strict.
Yeah, maybe
But,
someday, but it's not right now, thankfully.
yeah, thankfully.
I mean, Sony won't, be such assholes, to, you can't share your account with your friend anymore, only just one, and,
Well, we saw what happened when Xbox One was like, hey, every game is gonna have DRM or whatever.
Digital rights management, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and every game's gonna have DRM, and you're always gonna have to be connected to the internet. And they were obviously trying to prevent, uh, what we're talking about. We're like, oh, it's easy to share games between accounts and people and consoles. Um, but the internet freaked out, and
Yeah, I think they're still dealing with damage control over that.
yeah.
probably
Yeah.
they really
It's never left my mind.
they really upset people, especially
Yeah.
with the stupid comment we got from the CEO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The whole like, like, well, if you don't have internet and you're living in a submarine, like miles down under the ocean, then get a Xbox 360. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a
wow.
hit in the balls.
Yeah,
Like,
and he's
wait,
not working there anymore.
Yeah,
Is he
no,
After
not?
he's not
that,
working
no,
there.
he's not. I forget the guy's name, but no, he isn't
I
there
can't remember.
anymore.
He
No
doesn't
one
deserve
remembers
to be
him.
remembered.
Yeah. Got spirit bombed. Nothing left to him left. He's like Yamcha in the crater.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bad fuck up from his part. Um,
The internet lent out
Their
their
energy.
energy and spirit bomb.
they're like, Sony, take our spirit. And then Sony just threw down,
Yeah.
like, game sharing, boom.
Yeah.
Like that commercial they did, like, here's
Oh
how you
yeah,
share
I remember
games.
that. I love that. That was good.
That's gotta have the Snoop Dogg music to it,
Yeah.
like, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but at least they're listening to us. Like, if we do this more often, I think they're like, okay, these are really cool fans, and we should like listen to them because they're Sony and Microsoft are doing that. They are learning from their mistakes, and they hopefully they won't do them again, but at least they're listening to us, through the power of the internet.
That's true.
So we might make a change, but yeah, it's really cool to have this kind of power.
Yeah, I will give Microsoft that. I mean, it took them 2 years, but they did eventually do backwards compatibility.
And then
It took 2 years, and they're still building on it. But
Yeah, Sony's
Sony's
stuck
starting
with
to do it.
with the PlayStation Now, game streaming, but as
yeah,
like
That's pretty cool though.
yeah, it is really accurate, and people are like, wow, this is pretty good. I mean, it's not lagging.
But that's not backwards compatibility, is
Uh-uh.
it? That's only
It's
like,
it's it's in the cloud. It's streaming.
as I understand, it's like a subscription based service.
Yeah, yeah. But you
Um,
have to pay more than just the PlayStation Plus, and yeah, it's
or you could rent.
yeah,
You can rent
you
a game.
can rent, but if
yes.
it's come on, we're spending a lot
Yeah.
of money here.
It's cool, but yeah, I'm tired of.
I'm under the impression that it like PlayStation Now is a little bit on the expensive side
Yeah,
Just
right now anyway.
just a little bit. For the titles they have like quite a large variety of titles actually. But
Mm-hmm.
so if you don't own any of the games, that's pretty cool. But a lot of the games that they're like featuring,
Yeah, or the old
uh,
systems. If you don't own the old systems, then I suppose I can understand
they're
that
like
too.
yeah,
the good thing that is PlayStation 2. I still have my PlayStation 2 games, and they just can't run with this emulator thing and say like, oh, you can now play PlayStation 2 games when you still have to download them again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, please, um, do this. I mean, it's not like the PS4 cannot do it. It's because you guys want more money, and we just want to play with the damn console at its full potential. It's a really
Sure.
it's a drag to be honest. And these games. I mean, I know backwards compatibility. It's something that we've been with all these years. I mean, uh, PlayStation 2 had backwards compatibility with PlayStation 1. PlayStation 3 had backwards compatibility with PlayStation 1 and 2 in the early
Yes,
days.
in its
original.
earliest. Yeah.
And they just took it off because, I don't know.
that confused me a little bit. They got rid of backwards compatibility was the for the newer PS3s on the PS2.
Yeah.
I probably botched up that sentence somewhere. Um, but they kept the PS1 compatibility.
Yeah, they did.
And that confused me. And then they started porting PS2 games again, and so you can get them digitally. And I'm like, what is the hardware limitation then? I'm not an expert on this, so I don't know, what what it takes to like actually get it running.
The main thing behind that was PlayStation 3's cell processor was really incompatible for porting things.
Okay.
It had a lot of shit. They just had to take
Zyberpunky put it much better than I did.
I mean, it put a lot of things in one console. This is what's gonna happen. I mean, I know PlayStation 3 at the beginning was like, wow, this is really powerful console with Blu-ray and all that. But having this compatible thing, having all the feature that it had, I mean, wow, bro. The heat problem, maybe it was that. Like, there was a lot inside the poor console. They just needed to take it off. It's way too much. I mean, the Xbox right now. Uh, I mean, one of my friends told me that it's the most console return to store.
Yep.
Xbox One or
Xbox One.
360.
Oh,
the
one.
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 Oh yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Well, I'm not surprised about the 360 either. Sadly, Xbox hasn't been doing very well in any of its consoles. Like the biggest problem with them is they're just so big and clunky.
Yeah.
I hate moving those things.
Like the PlayStation always gets smaller, always. And it still runs all the games you put into it.
Just to be clear, we're not fanboys. We,
just a little bit. Dan is mostly a Nintendo fanboy.
I am a Nintendo fanboy.
Well, it's okay, but these Xbox and PlayStation, they're like, oh yeah, they got really carried away.
Just honestly, the biggest offender when it comes to physical and digital, the topic at hand, like the biggest offender really is Microsoft when you look at it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Nintendo just doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't know how to use the internet. They're still getting me the AOL trial disc.
So what I heard about the new Nintendo, I think it was Codename NX or Nintendo NX, which I don't know if they're going to go full digital or they going to have like a CD slot or whatever they call it, because I don't think it's Blu-ray that they're making. But I just don't know where Nintendo's going with this. But I hope it's not just digital, because if they're going to do a compatible, backwards compatible with the Wii U, they might lose some money there.
But I don't think it's a console to replace the Wii U, because like the Wii U is still new. It hasn't been out for that long.
Yeah.
And I know Nintendo might be like, oh, like, like they might be trying to fix whatever was wrong with the original Wii U or whatever. But the Wii U is such a great console. I think it's still too early for them to like switch out like for the new whatever they're making. So I don't think it's gonna be like anything like the Wii U. And is it gonna replace the 3DS? I don't think so either, because they just released the new 3DS XL.
Yeah.
It'd be weird if it was something like that. So I don't know what they're trying to make. And I haven't heard much from that. Dan, you probably know more than I do.
Oh, yes, just because I'm just in the Nintendo universe for the most part. Yes, the Nintendo NX, we'll be seeing more from it at this year's E3. For certain. They only just announced like the code name for it just last year. And so it was a little early to even drop it then. It was just to let people know, hey, we are doing something new, but they're always working on something new. I mean, they were researching the 3D for the Nintendo 3DS like even since the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
So their research and development is part of what makes them so beautiful. So we're only going to see just a few glimpses of the NX at this year's E3, and I can't see it going completely digital at all. I can tell you that key developers there at Nintendo have said that that the player will always want something in their hand, and they were doing that in reference to controllers at the time, in response to like the Kinect and things like that. But that's just their tradition to go pick up the Nintendo game from the store and put it in. And so I don't think it'll go full digital. Now they've been supporting indie developers way more, and they can't afford to do do stuff. So there'll be a strong presence for them, and their stuff will have a very strong digital forefront. Nintendo's the best at treating indie developers, from what I hear.
Yeah.
But the big budget Nintendo titles, I think, are always going to have, or really going to have, physical versions for a very long time. And I also think it'll be backwards compatible too. I don't think they'll nix the discs.
Yeah.
I mean, think of how much love the new Smash Brothers got, that we got an adapter to let us use our really, really old GameCube controllers to continue to let us play Super Smash Brothers with the old GameCube controllers. I love that, and I hope they keep that up.
Yeah, they didn't keep the GameCube compatibility with the Wii U, but they did give us a GameCube adapter.
Yeah, I think it's rumored. I think that can still happen because the GameCube adapter's out there. I think we could see GameCube games on the Wii U someday.
Well, it runs Wii games already.
Yes.
I don't see why it couldn't run GameCube games. So.
Yeah, there's a way. I mean, soft modders have already done it.
Yeah, I've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the digital version of the game though. Like you have to rip the game and.
Yeah, soft modders have it going. I think Nintendo will do it eventually. Cause I'd love if they have Nintendo DS games that are on the market for that, to be able to have the bottom touch screen as the gamepad screen. Yeah, they have a few on there, and I just want to buy those on principle because I'd like to see that on the big screen. Some games I've always wanted to, but anyhow, you can't stick a DS cartridge in that.
Yeah,
they have to be digital, and they have to be reformatted.
They'll do it eventually, maybe. They
Yeah.
did it with the GameCube, and they didn't do it with the Wii. But they had the GameCube and the Super Nintendo be able to play Game Boy games. So, who knows? Maybe for the Wii U, they might do something.
Yeah, that'd be amazing if the NX would let you plug in 3DS cartridges.
Holy crap, man. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and then so just have the Wii U gamepad be backwards compatible, and then have your 3DS games on the big screen. Oh!
On your 3DS?
They always innovate just right to where it's magical. Anyhow.
So there was this one thing I've been thinking about. I mean, the developers, I think they've been holding back the physical copy. It's because our generation, Shinja, you, OfficerDan, and me, which were the most oldest, and there's other generation like us, and in the 90s, 80s, back in the days, that we still like physical copies. But since now we're, moving towards new kids, new generations, kids will never see like, what is that, a cassette or a VHS? What is that? They will never know what's gonna be that, 10 years from now. So.
I'm like, you stupid brat, what is wrong with you? Did you see how much bigger a VHS tape is from a cassette?
Can I download this on the App Store?
Next, you're not sure if it's a triangle or a square.
I think you get my point, and it's I think one of the reasons is because of that. I mean, there's still guys like us that like physical more than digital copy, even though digital copy it's really cheap, and it's a lot easier to download because it's faster internet and etc.
Technically they're the same price. The biggest difference just being that, like, if you get it from the online store, you don't pay taxes.
Exactly.
But even if you could get a physical copy online without paying taxes and maybe free shipping. Some of them, so
you just can split the money, just like Shinja and I do a lot of times.
Sure.
So it's
friends forever.
Yes. So I think that developers are like, oh well, these generation they're kind of dying, so let's just move on with the kids now, and it feels like that to me.
Gosh, I hope not. I still want there to be physical things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand you. I feel you, man.
I'm not entirely sure if it's moving in that direction. I mean, they're definitely pushing
Yeah, they're
digital
pushing it.
a lot
Yeah.
more. Just because they see there's like sales opportunities on there, and also because DLC is mostly digital.
If they're
It's
going to
kind of
do that,
like
I mean, the PS5 or the Xbox, whatever the hell, they need to have more than just 1 terabyte, like 4 or 5 terabyte, in the freaking console. Because if it's
Mm-hmm.
moving to digital, we need more space for those big ass games. I mean, those games aren't just like 10 gigabytes only. Those games are huge.
yeah, the PS4 games are like 40, 50 gigabytes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
the Blu-rays they come on hold at least 50, if not
yeah,
more these
like
days. I'm not
Yeah.
sure now.
we got like what 10 physical games, and like the PS4's hard drive is almost
My
full
hard
already.
drive's full. That's
And
just yeah. Memory's cheap enough these days. I don't see why it can't be bigger. I don't know.
yeah, I mean we can like add an extension or expansion or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
onto it. Um, and there's always like we have really fast internet here, so it doesn't take long to re-download games. But not everyone has that luxury.
Yeah.
Um, and so like downloading a game that big, like that takes like a night at least,
Mm-hmm.
Here
like
in Puerto Rico,
couple good
it
hours.
takes like 3 days to download.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've downloaded games that are only like 10 gigabytes, and that takes like 2 days. Um, on a slow internet connection, like I had what two megs per second, or was it per second? Yeah. And then when I was downloading Final Fantasy 14 back home, that took literally like a week to get like 40, 50 gigs onto my computer.
Yeah.
Same with Guild Wars 2.
Internet infrastructure, for the most part, in most parts of the world, America here, I know I could speak for that, rural areas from where I grew up in, and from your guys' experience, just can't handle these 50 gigabyte downloads. The day that we have like amazing fiber like speeds coming from space, like there's satellites that's shooting Wi-Fi down on the planet Earth, is the day that I see more of a market for digital only things.
Yeah. Like and Google's shooting for that because Google's amazing.
Yeah,
They
they
want to
will
make
someday.
internet free for everyone.
Hmm.
Um, but what's crazy to me is that other countries have faster internet than America does.
Oh,
And
Switzerland stomps us.
yeah, and I'm like, WTF? Like, didn't America invent the internet? Like, was it a part of the U.S. military communications?
And now
And I'm like,
normal
well,
people are using it.
Yeah,
so
Japan,
yeah.
you can't escape it. I imagine.
No.
Oh,
Once you
yeah,
go out
but
the
that's
boonies,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably a curse and a blessing. It's just like I'm always connected. It's like
Yeah.
it's going to Japan is literally entering the
But
matrix.
America's
Yes.
a big place, so it just doesn't have the infrastructure to do it.
Yeah, I mean our infrastructure in general, like not just Wi-Fi, is crap. I
Hmm.
think.
I don't know. There's just still people out in the middle of nowhere that are stuck with DSL and things like that.
Yeah, and maybe not even phone service sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when I was traveling to Colorado, God forbid we mention that again sometime. But while I was traveling there, um, like I'd be talking to you on the phone, um, and then all of a sudden I lose, you know, phone signal, and like there'd be like no cell phone towers anywhere. It'd just be like open fields, and like there was nothing at all, and
Like Sprint.
you know, no, that was. Sprint wasn't even there. That's how crap they already are.
We have a Sprint headquarters here, and you can't get service
Yeah.
if you're standing outside their building.
Yeah, we're not joking.
Yeah.
You can't. Sprint is the worst service.
Yeah, I'm
here
not making that up. You can be in front of their headquarters and get no service.
I don't know. It's a weird that in America there's not a lot of places with internet, and yet at the same time, there's internet everywhere.
That's good.
Yeah, internet's a really important part of digital.
Yep. It's basically the power line.
Yeah.
I just say just for me personally, like even though I'm more towards physical, there is really advantages to having something digital. Like PC gaming, digital is king, and we have our savior Gabe Newell to bring that to us. My library on Steam is probably over 150 games, but I've just been with Steam so long, and they're just always up, and you can have that stuff offline after you buy it. That like they've just earned my trust, and I'm fine with my PC being like a digital platform in the way that it is. They've earned my trust, and just everything else just hasn't. Video game consoles, as a history, have just always been like the VCR, or like the DVD, or like the Blu-ray player. Like I don't have to connect those to the internet to be able to access my media, and I still want to see video game consoles be that way. That's just the way it's always been. And when they tried to take that away from us, you see how the internet acts, like with the Xbox One and how that went out. So for me, I always want I'm fine with like a digital platform being there, because that gives us access to games, and some developers that can't front costs for all the shipping, and those that care about the environment but still happen to make a cool game or whatever. Like they're chopping down trees to make a compact disc or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But PC, I'm just comfortable with it over on PC. Steam just has my trust. And plus, it sells for amazingly cheap. Like
yeah,
Steam
that's
sales,
the
man.
best part. Like
That's the best part.
Steam has amazing sales. You'll have your games on there forever. Like
Yeah.
my computer currently, I don't have a computer that can run games. Back home in Puerto Rico, I had a decent computer that could run most games. I played Skyrim on it a lot. I played Guild Wars, Final Fantasy. I played quite a few PC games on there. And then, but now I only have a semi okay laptop, and it can't run shit games. Like, it just does the basics. Um, but even then, I still like I see a sale on Steam, and I'm like, I have to buy this game right now. It's like what 80% off sometimes.
Amazing discounts. Yeah.
So, and I guess that's the biggest advantage to it being digital, because since there's literally no cost to it just being up there. No, like I don't know how much like Steam has to like, or even if Steam has to pay to have games up there or not.
I don't know the logistics behind that.
I don't know. I know maybe some people have to. I know people have to get their games greenlit to be on.
Yeah,
Steam.
because I'm friends with a couple of developers that have stuff up on Greenlight. So.
But I don't know if they have to pay it or if
just
Steam pays
the fee to have it greenlit. I don't know about after that. Probably not. With all the weird stuff that's showing up on Steam. But that's good. I also like that we have all these strange developers that are, like I said, that won't be able to front the cost of physical. Like, how on earth were we supposed to get Goat Simulator or like I Am Bread and other crazy fun things like that?
So yeah, it's digital is probably the way to go for indie developers right now. But physical will always have a special place in our hearts.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you for joining us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Zyberstation. And it's been a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
And I was Officer Dan. Be sure to check us out on our gameplay channel, Karibu Kai Play.
Yep. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Shinja from Karibu Kai Play.